don't you just love preparing speeches? You look forward to it every week so you can be on the agenda? No? I'm also a master of excuses. Have you noticed how many I've given this year? All 5 of them. 4 were for the speech contest back in May, all within 2 weeks' time frame. I could use this whole speech to list all the excuses I use. And rather than do that, I decided to categorize them into 3 main categories. The first one, I don't have enough time. Have you ever used that one? Yeah. The second one, I don't know what to talk about. The third one, the sky is falling. And variations on that theme. How come we let excuses keep us from our joy? And from being the best people we can be, and from helping others? How come we do that? You know? I was listening to Darren LaCroix, and he's the 2001 world champion of public speaking. He inspired me not to listen to that voice that has more excuses than our politicians. And he said one thing that that really spoke to me, and that is, if you want to help others, you need to let them know who you are and what you do. If you want to help others, you need to let them know who you are and what you do. And he was talking to a lot of Toastmasters in the room, because a lot of the Toastmasters they have their own businesses. And I have, for many, many years of being in Toastmasters, downplayed my business, thinking it wasn't okay. Well, he's given me permission to talk about my business, and I give you permission as well. It means that we need to learn how to tell and evolve our story. He says the greatest stories are not told, they're retold, and they're reworked. And he encourages us to tell our story over and over and over again. Don't do just one speech and come back and do another speech the next week and get another topic and another one the next week. Refine it, refine it, refine it is one of the big messages that he gave to us in that meeting. And the other thing is that how do we pick our topic? 3 things for picking the topic. This is the piece you want to write down. Number 1, you want to pick something that you're an expert at, something that you know a lot about. All right? And if you're like me, you'll say, well, you know, you'll have this idea, and you'll say, well, they don't want to know about that. And, well, what about this? And, well, they probably don't want to know about that. Do you ever do that? Write them all down. Make a list of 20. Don't stop. Make a list of 20. Whatever comes to the top of your head. When I started my list, it was running away and hiding. Whatever the first thoughts are. I figured, well, maybe I'm not going to talk about that. But it was a start. And when I got down to yoga and meditation and horses and compassion, then, you know, I was kind of adding to the list. But I didn't get to it until I got to the middle. And in the middle, I started picking what it was I really wanted to talk about. So, first of all, know what you want to talk about, know what you do well, and make that list, okay? In order to narrow the list, the second piece is that you find what you're passionate about. So on my list was balancing checkbooks. For one time I was a banker, right? That's not my passion anymore, folks. And so that is not on my list. What came onto my list was balancing the mind-body connection. And secondly on that list was writing and presenting poems and speeches. Because writing and presenting things is a reflection of congruence between your mind and your body. So I need to talk about those things. And then there's the aspect of overcoming adversity, because overcoming adversity is an opportunity for you to master being your best self and to develop skills in communication and life. And so that's my focus. I've got something to talk about, and I've got many different topics I can choose out of that. So the third piece then, once you know what you know, and you're going to talk about your expertise, and you know what you're passionate about, you've narrowed that list of 20 to those 3 things you're passionate about. The third thing is that you want to have something that's relevant to the audience. Something that's relevant to the audience. Which means your stories are going to get adapted to the audience, whether you're speaking to a banker group or you're speaking to teenagers. You might tell the same story, you're just going to put a different spin on it, okay? Next, you want to know, what is your why for doing this? What is your why for doing this? Why go through this process of preparing a speech and getting up in front of a group and doing this every week? Or twice a month, whatever you can make. What's motivating you to do it? Again, make a list of 20. What's the motivation? Because on that list of 20, you're going to post it somewhere where it's visible so that when the opportunity comes and the agenda pops into your email and invites you to be on the agenda, that you look at your list and you remind yourself that you want to help people, that you want to be a better person, that nothing's going to stop you from having you and presenting you. Okay? So what is your why? That's the question you want to ask. And finally, there's one more question you want to ask yourself when you're preparing your speech. And this question is what helps you focus your message, and it helps you, what does it do? Give a more effective and organized speech. And the question is, what do you want your audience to think, feel, or do? What do you want your audience to think, feel, or do? I want you to enjoy writing and delivering more speeches. That was my intention when I started this. I want you to sign up more often. I'm learning to do the same. We practice what we teach here. And so we get to stand up and do it, or we wouldn't be here. The other thing that he said that was really important to me is that in Toastmasters, because he was talking to a Toastmaster audience, in Toastmasters you're not learning to speak to become a better Toastmaster. Right? You're here to learn to communicate better in your life. Right? So we want to really practice to go out there. People think that the best presenters are born that way sometimes. One of the things they said to Darren when he won the contest, his friends who would come up to him and say, "Oh, you're so lucky, you're so good." And they don't even know his history of what it took for him to get there. And he says, great presenters are not born that way. Great presenters are coached and practiced. Great presenters are coached and practiced.